Hey, good evening, guys. So today, somebody in this group left the group, and before he went, he said, "My wife just came back home, so I'm wishing you guys farewell." And my first reaction, like many of yours, was like, "Nice, that's amazing." And then upon reflection, I don't know this gentleman. I have no idea like how much he gained from the group. He didn't interact a lot with us, so I don't know. Let me just say that. But then I think it was an hour or two later, somebody else posted completely unrelated, but you'll see it was an amazing connection. Somebody said, sharing his experience, and he said that he was once separated from his wife. They got back together because his wife wanted to work it out. And then a few months after that, they got divorced again. Now that's pretty typical, okay? That's not uncommon. And the fact that two people posted these two things next to each other made me think about like, look at what's happening over here. Why does somebody get separated? Let's be honest. Why did you get separated? Or to make it very simple, what's your problem right now if you're separated? Is it just that you're not with your wife? I bet you that's not the truth. Okay? If you're separated and you're on this group, the reason why you're here is not just because you're separated. The reason why you're separated is because of a bunch of areas of lacking the fulfillment of your wife's emotional, intimate needs, psychological needs, interpreting her reality or not interpreting her reality. There are a lot of areas that you need to miss in order to become separated. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming guys. The assumption, if you're on this group, is that you're taking 100% responsibility for the marriage, even if you're not 100% guilty. Okay, that is a key. That is a core principle that I teach, and it's really one of the conditions for anybody to work with me is you have to take 100% responsibility, even if you're not 100% wrong. Okay, so having said that, when somebody gets separated, it's at the end of a whole long attempt to make things work. Your wife didn't wake up one day and decide to separate. She woke up one day with enough pain, and the pain caused her to say that the pain of separation is worse than the pain of continuing to live with you. So the way to look at separation, it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm separated. What do I do to get back with my wife? The goal of the separation should be not just to get back to your wife, but to get to the core, what's under the iceberg. What were the reasons you got separated? What were the areas that you completely lacked? Her needs that were unmet. And it could be that it could be a bunch of different reasons, so it's not safe to speculate. It could be that you were too good. You were doing so much that you sacrificed and compromised your own needs to the point that you got resentful and you got frustrated and you were disappointed with the marriage and you felt that you weren't being seen, you weren't being appreciated, you weren't being recognized. So some guys end up getting separated in a sad way. Tragic but true, they got separated because they were actually too good and they didn't know how to stand up for themselves and they didn't have the self-esteem or the confidence to be able to be a man and attractive to their wife by sometimes saying no, which requires a balance, okay? I'm not here to teach you that balance, and it'll be impossible to do that in a few-minute video, but it could be dozens and dozens of reasons why you got separated. But the purpose of the separation is for you to step back and come back to the marriage as a completely changed person, a transformed person, somebody that your wife looks at and is like, wow, okay, I can't imagine living without him. And when you get, and if you use your time of separation to cultivate a strategy and implement a strategy that gets you to rewire, so to speak, psychologically and emotionally, and develop your emotional intelligence and your intuition, and your ability to be present and intimate, not sexually intimate. That I'm talking about emotionally intimate. And sexual intimacy is a natural conclusion of emotional intimacy. Okay. But as you cultivate that core need, that core basic skill that a husband needs, that makes your separation worthwhile. Going back too early. Now I'm not talking about the guy who left because I have no idea what's going on. It's perfect for him. I have no idea. But I've spoken to many guys. And when they go back too early, just like the guy who posted earlier today on this chat, that actually could cause things to explode. Because let's back up and just say what's going on behind the scenes. When your wife decides, okay, let's get back together, it could come from one of two places. It could either come from a place of, okay, there have been a lot of changes, a lot of growth, a lot of development in you possibly in her. There's a lot of awareness that's happened, and she sees changes in you if you're doing it the right way. And she's like, oh my God, this is finally what I wanted. This is what I was hoping for, and this is what I was waiting for years. And then, you guys get back together, and it's better than it ever was. Okay, and I'll say the second scenario in a moment. But notice what happened over here. You didn't just get back together. You changed. You transformed. You became a different husband. You're going to be a different father on many levels. You became a better person, a happier person, a more confident person, a more aware person, somebody who's not going to miss your wife's cues. You're not going to misinterpret or ignore her cries. You're not going to ignore your own emotions or make believe they don't exist or overreact to them, whichever extreme you usually, was your default setting. You didn't just get back. So really, a cause for celebration shouldn't be, I got back together with my wife. It should be all the things I learned during these few months, what I've gained, how I've grown as a man and as a husband. And yes, icing on the cake, I got back naturally. It's inevitable. You're going to get back together with your wife if you do it the right way. Now, situation number 2, when some people get back together, could be for the wrong reasons. And this is very simple common sense. A lot of times, the wife wants to get back together because, listen very carefully, her pain level went down. When she made the decision to separate from you, her pain was, let's say, on a scale of 10 out of 10. Now, time passed. It could be a bunch of different things that happened. Maybe you did some actions of love and she has more pain from you not being around, or something's happened which brought the pain level down to a 7 or an 8. And suddenly, the marriage is the pain level of 7 out of 10, but being separated from you is 10 out of 10 for a number of reasons. It could be financial stuff. It could be logistical. It could be raising the kids. It could be so many reasons. It could be loneliness. Getting back together with you, her decision to get back together with you is not necessarily coming from a good place, which is why the gentleman that posted today of how he got back together with his wife, and then because she wanted to work it out, and then it exploded a few months later. And the reason was because of his lack of emotional control, his lack of emotional awareness. Is a classic example which happens frequently when guys get back together, and that's because your paradigm is off. Your definition of success is working against you. It's not working for you, because it's not about separation. It's not about getting back together. It's about getting to the core issue. I've spoken about it many times, about aim before you fire, finding out exactly what the areas were, what was missing, why did the separation happen? And if you don't have a very clear understanding why it happened, not just superficial level, on a very deep level, either the separation will happen again, and when it does, it's going to be worse, or you won't separate, but you're still gonna have that misery that you're basically just gonna settle instead of being miserable, and your pain and her pain level is 10 out of 10, your pain level might go down to a 6 or a 7 or a 5, where you sort of learn to tolerate each other and you lower your expectations. You basically settle. You basically settle for a mediocre, average marriage, which in America means one where you don't have a lot of respect for your wife, and you look at women like they're just okay, like a necessary nuisance to some degree, or like you need them for some convenience, but that you don't have that same passion and excitement and love and respect and appreciation that you used to have. That's what I call a mediocre marriage. It's just like, okay, whatever. And you sort of buy into the lie that marriage does get boring over time, and you lose the spice, and you lose the dating, and you lose the excitement of just spending time in each other's company and enjoying each other's conversation. And that happens when you settle. So if that's your goal, go ahead and do it, okay? But I'm assuming that deep in your heart, you want to have a marriage that you thought you're going to have when you started out. Let's be honest. Now, I could give you tips, by the way, okay? I could give you tips from today to tomorrow, and I'm not going to do it, but I could give you ways how to manipulate your wife and get her to let you come back home. I could do that. And I used to do it, but that was many, many, many years ago. I mean, it was like over 7 years ago, because I was a marriage coach for 11 years now. For the first 4 years, I didn't really know what I knew the past 7 years. Anyway, I could give you tips. And the reason why I'm not going to do that, why I'm not going to manipulate her to take you back home is because what's the point? You're going to come back home, but you're not a changed man. You're not a transformed man. You didn't have an awakening on an emotional level, on a psychological level, and possibly on a spiritual level, depending on your orientation. And until you have that awakening, what's the point? Why should I subject your wife to all my techniques and all my strategies of how to get you back home if you haven't changed as a person? Why should I do that to her? It makes the marriage only worse, because now her hopes are up. Now she sees, based on the strategies I will give you, that you're doing great, and you're only disappointed because you haven't changed. If you haven't seen my video about Don't Be a Cat, check it out. It's in the welcome post, because that's what it is. If you fake actions, if you fake the right things, and you don't have the heart, you haven't developed the character necessary to back your new habits and really sustain your new attitudes, whatever you do is going to fall apart. Okay, that's why I offer a free call to people who are separated, but they're serious about winning their marriage, not just to get back together, but they actually want to rewire themselves. They want to develop, or really go back to, and on a basic level, what do I need to do as a husband? What I need to know about marriage, and really specifically, what do I need to know about my particular wife, to really explore her needs, to aim before you fire. I have an article about that. It's also in the welcome post, to really discover that. And if that's something you want, if you want a heavenly marriage, a blissful marriage, a passionate marriage, not just where, okay, I got back home, David, thank you very much, because I'm not going to do that for you, but one where you change, you transform, book a call with me. Okay, in that session, we're going to discuss your situation. We'll take a deep dive. We'll see what's working, what's not working, what type of marriage you want to have, and if we're a good fit, we're in business. Okay, but this is only for people who understand that we're talking about transformation. We're not talking about information. We're not talking about handing out band-aids or tips and techniques and ways and methods of manipulating your wife. That's not what I'm going to do. I don't do that. Okay, so if you're separated and you want to get to the bottom reason of why you're separated and truly change, and you're open to changing without blaming, without coming to me and blaming your wife. I'm not blaming you either. When I say take 100% responsibility, again, it's not blaming you. It's just saying somebody got to wake up for the marriage. Somebody has to be the one to say, I'm going to save this. And it's going to be you. If it's you, you book a call with me. We'll talk and we'll take it to the next level. Take care. All the best.